Hello everybody, I am Shappos and welcome back to Let's Play Zombie Shooter. So, we just finished the campaign in the last episode, so this time we're going to go for survival. And we're going to see how long we can last. Now, I'm going to do I'm going to do probably 2 episodes in total of me doing survival rounds. I don't really know, it depends how long I last, I suppose. But, survival mode in this is pretty much the same as it was in Alien Shooter. It's quite slow and sluggish to start with. You know, it's very... You know, it takes a while for the action to ramp up. And then all of a sudden you're finding yourself surrounded. And you just gotta survive as long as you can. So that's exactly what we are going to do. And it's definitely not going to be easy. Survival mode in this is harder than it was in Alien Shooter, I believe. From what I have played of survival in this, I do find it to be that bit harder than Alien Shooter was. Alien Shooter I did what I would call pretty okay. But in this I just don't seem to get very far. I just find it a lot harder. I don't know whether it's because of the enemies or what it is, but it is challenging. I think it could be just that you get bloody zombies that fire homing missiles on you and things like that eventually. Whilst if I remember, in Alien Shooter you never had any homing missiles on enemies. They just fucking shot at you and that was it. You know, if the missiles missed, they missed. Whilst here, it's a little bit different. I wonder how many more we have. Right, okay, well we killed the first boss anyways, so we got our shotgun, but shotgun at level 1 is pretty slow. Well, maybe not too slow, but I'm still not a huge fan of it. Ah, fuck it, we'll use it anyway. I'm starting to get zombie dogs on my ass now as well, which is going to make life so easy. Not really, by the way. But, you know, I'm ready for a challenge. And as I said, I'll do an episode of maybe 1 or 2 rounds of gun stand as well. Gun stand is quite fun. It's where you control a turret and it's got a wall around it and you literally just gotta survive as long as you can without the turret being destroyed. That's basically it. Okay, it seems like the weapons in survival are completely upgraded to the max, judging by the speed and the fact that there's no stars there. Because this is firing pretty quick, so I know at level 1 the shotgun shoots pretty slowly, so I reckon that all the weapons are upgraded to their maximum, which is fun. I like that idea. I've kind of been thinking about what I'm going to do after this, and I've decided I'm just going to go straight for Zombie Shooter 2. It's kind of, you know, as I said, I do want to just kind of do Zombie Shooter 2 because it is the weakest of the shooter series. As a whole, it is by far the weakest, and I kind of just want to just get it over and done with because of it not being the greatest ever. I mean, like, I've still got to do Alien Shooter 2, that's for sure. But you know, I know that I should probably do Alien Shooter first because it came before Zombie Shooter and it'd be a little bit easier in comparison. Like, you know, when it comes to comparing the two. But in honesty, I just want to get it over and done with. You know, I know that sounds kind of bad, but in a point, I'm also kind of excited to do it because I have this thing where I find that even some of the games that I really don't enjoy playing normally, I still enjoy doing them when it comes to Let's Plays. I don't know what it is. I think it's just doing Let's Plays of them gives me a new something to aim for. I think that's what it is. And it's like Legend of Grimrock. I was never able to finish that. But then when I did a Let's Play of it, I got through it. I finished it for the first time. You know, there's just something about doing Let's Plays of games, and it doesn't matter how awful the game is, you'll still do it. I mean, I've played a couple of really awful games now at this stage. Not too many, but I have played a few. To be honest, you know, I admit I've mostly played pretty good games, but I have played a couple of not so good ones too. But you know, it doesn't really matter when it comes to doing a Let's Play. I still enjoy doing the Let's Play as opposed to, like, no, I might not enjoy the game, but when I'm doing a Let's Play of it, it makes it that all the more enjoyable. I don't understand why. I think it's just doing a Let's Play of a game, whether it's good or bad, it's still going to be enjoyable in some strange, twisted way. It's always going to be somewhat enjoyable. I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it, but you know, doing a Let's Play of a game can make even the most tedious and nerve-wracking of games be at least somewhat enjoyable. I don't know whether it's because you're focusing on commentary and you know you're not kind of getting sucked into the badness of a bad game or whatever. I don't know. I just don't know. But, you know, like Maximus 15 is a pretty poor game, but doing a Let's Play of it has kept me going to the very end. You know, plants. I missed it. Shit. I didn't really want to miss an implant. But yeah, I've decided to go ahead and just do it and just, you know, just get it over and done with. As I said, I would have rather done Alien Shooter first. Now, whether or not I'll end up actually uploading Alien Shooter 2 first when I do it, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because I record so far ahead of what I upload. It's hard for me to actually sort of say what way it's going to actually appear when it comes to upload. It's kind of like the expansion for Unreal. I've had that done for ages, and I actually did Van Helsing afterwards, and Van Helsing got uploaded first. You know what I mean? It's just the way that I go. And it's, you know, I don't mind it. It's just the way that I kind of roll. I'm a little bit unorthodox, I will admit, but I always have been. I've been kind of unorthodox in everything I've ever done. I never kind of just do everything in sort of ABC. I just do it my own way, and that's it. That's me for you, you know. Wow, we're really starting to feel the heat now. I'm in trouble. I could end up dying very easily here. Not one of my better runs, I will admit. We'll try again. So I'm gonna probably do 2 more after this, and then I'll do I'll do gun stand, and then we'll be done with zombie shooter. In a way, it's kind of a shame they didn't go and do a couple of expansions for this, and maybe release it as a gold edition like they did with Alien Shooter. But I guess they didn't really need to, because like Zombie Shooter 2 came out pretty quickly after the first one, to be honest. It wasn't that long. I think the reason for it was that they didn't do an expansion was because when it came to Zombie Shooter 2, they already had the technology, they already had the engine and everything done, whilst with Alien Shooter they had to, they had to keep their audience going until Alien Shooter 2 was ready. So they made a couple of expansions to keep people going, and then they made Alien Shooter 2. And yeah, I think that's what the main reason is. They didn't really need to do an expansion for this. That's kind of just the way that I think that's my theory, anyways, as to why they didn't bother with any expansions for this. But they're very unique, the Shooter series, in the sense that they bring back this old nostalgic kind of feeling that where when I was a kid I played a lot of games on the Amiga and the Commodore 64. Like my gaming started with the Commodore 64, and it went onto the Amiga from there, and my first ever computer or console, like technically an Amiga was a computer at the same time as a console. The Amiga A600 was my first computer, I suppose you could say. I'll use computer because the Amigas were technically computers as opposed to actually being a console like the Sega Mega Drive was, or the Super Nintendo. Yeah, it started on there, and there was those old 90s games, and you had X amount of lives, and you had to basically just shoot everything. There was a game that I really liked, and if I can, I might get an emulator working just to do it one day. I don't have any experience when it comes to emulators. I really don't know how to get them working, but it's something I'm going to be looking into, because there are certain games that I've played in my youth that I'd love to do Let's Plays of now. But there will be a certain rule that I will follow when it comes to using an emulator, and that is a case that I will only emulate a game that I have owned at some stage, that I have bought or was bought for me as a gift. Like, I never owned, say, let me see, what game didn't I own but I've played? I never owned, I'm just trying to think of a game, because for example, I never owned a Fatal Frame game, so I'd never emulate a Fatal Frame game unless I bought it previously. The reason for that is that people, like, if I'm going to play a game, I want to at least show that I have bought it, and I want to sort of contribute to the company, or if I went and, like, just say if I wanted to do Fatal Frame on an emulator, I would actually go onto eBay and I'd actually buy a copy of the game. I'd probably then pass it on to someone that would actually have the console, but it's just sort of a principle of the matter, you know, because people use these emulators just to get, you know, play games for nothing and not actually pay a penny for them, and I think that's kind of wrong. I think that's losing the point, to be honest with you, because you've got great sites like GOG and that are doing a fantastic job trying to get all these old games working on modern computers and that, and I just feel that, you know, it wouldn't be right to emulate a game that I didn't own at some stage, or I haven't, you know, it's, don't ask me why, it's just a principle thing. I think that there's a certain principle behind it, so, you know, I would never do that, but there's a lot of old Amiga games that I really want to play, like, again, and I'd love to do a Let's Play of them, and, you know, I genuinely really, it's something that I'm going to be looking into, that's for sure, because there's a lot of good games that I really want to do a Let's Play of. Like, I'd love to do the Eye of the Beholder games. So far there's been nothing in the sense of them coming along anytime soon on the GOG. I'd love to do others like the Alien Breeds. I've owned quite a few of the Alien Breeds. There's a good few of them that I'd really like to do, because, you know, it was a part of what has made me the gamer I am today. So I kind of like to share my childhood gaming experiences with all of you, if you know what I mean. It's something that I'd like to do. But again, I would never emulate a game that I have not actually previously owned at any time, because that would be, you know, that's almost stealing someone's hard work. You know what I mean? I know that, like, it could be counted as, oh, it's abandonware, sure, at this stage. I mean, it was 20 years ago. It's not the point. It's still someone's hard work. There are still copyright involved, you know, and, you know, I think it'd be okay. I think that if I previously owned it, I think it's okay to emulate it, yeah, but otherwise, no. I would have to, I'd have to buy it in some form or another. I'm just trying to think of other games. Hired Guns is another one that I've been trying my best to get my hands on a copy of Hired Guns, but I just can't. It's one that I had on the Amiga. There was a PC version as well, and it's one of those obscure. It's one of those games that is, for some reason, just been forgotten over the years. And it was an incredible game. It got huge publicity because of the fact that it nearly didn't get released several times, and it was just one of those games that nobody thought was ever going to be released. And it was published by Synopsys, I think, if I remember correctly, and it was developed by DMA Design. That's another one that I really want to do, because it is one of my favourite games of all time. It was an incredible game, it really was. It was basically you could play a 4-player co-op. If you wanted to, you could play with 3 other players using a mouse or a joystick or whatever. And you basically you chose 4 mercenaries out of the team of selectors that was there to select. Ooh, my best score yet. And you kind of went on and you had to do this mission and everything, and it was really good. I'll talk more about it in the next part anyway. But for now, I'm going to leave it here for this part, guys. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, and have fun.